Hello! So as per the title said, I had a audition last night for a short film, which is, to some people, might not be a really big deal because I'm not getting paid for it if I got the role, but to somebody who is really needing stuff on their resume and stuff to do a demo reel with, this is kind of important. But the thing about it is that auditions are weird. You just go into a room and there are people watching you and they have this camera on you and you just basically have to lay yourself out on the floor, and you have about 2 to 5 minutes to do such. You know, in any other interview that you would give, mostly people just want to sit and talk and get a vibe for, you know, what kind of person you are and your work ethic and all that stuff. You've never gone into an interview for an administrative clerk and they're like, okay, we want to see you type, we want to see you file, we want to see you answering phones, because they just assume that you know how to do that. But when you go into an acting audition, they don't know anything about your skills, and you can put anything that you want on a resume, but that doesn't mean really anything to them because they want to see you in person. You have sides, which is a part of a script or an excerpt from a script, and you are just reading, and you really don't know anything about the characters, you don't know hardly anything about the story, and you really just don't have a whole lot to go on. So you kindly ask the casting director, what is this about? And they tell you, and it still really doesn't give you a whole lot to work with. But if you want to be a professional, you learn to just deal with it. You kind of just go with the flow and hope for the best. There was one audition that I went to and I had to cry through the whole thing, and because the scene was it was at a school shooting and it was kind of intense, and the character that I was auditioning for, she cries through the whole thing. She's got like 3 lines, but for the whole rest of the movie she's just crying hysterically. That's really hard to do when you are not crying already. I mean, so basically I was just sitting on the floor huddled in a ball and a dress, no less, because I was dumb and didn't realize that I was probably gonna have to be on the floor. I was in a ball and I was basically just like trying as hard as I could to make myself cry, and it was not working. And it was very obviously not working because the people watching me were kind of like, you know, like not watching me, and they weren't really into my performance, which is understandable because I did a really crappy job. I'm not gonna lie, it was really crappy, which is okay because not every audition that you go into, especially me, is gonna be that great. I mean, I've had auditions where I didn't know the script very well, and so I was stumbling over my words, and the worst part about it is that there's really no way to redeem yourself. You basically are like, okay, go. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's gonna show, and it's gonna be really, really awful. They always tell you, I've read article after article, that if you mess up, you can kindly ask, do you mind if I start over? And for the most part, everyone's pretty much cool about that. But I don't like doing that. I guess there's a part of me that just has way too much pride to stop what I'm doing and say, do you mind if I start over? I don't know, like, I guess once I'm in it, I don't want to stop and it makes me look weak. I don't know. I don't know. There is just so much centered around that 3 to 5 minutes of your audition and there are so many rules going in too. I have read tons of articles telling you what you should and should not do in an interview audition. I pretty much break all of those rules every single time that I go in. There's a person that comes out to get you and they're like, hi, how are you doing? And I don't want to be too chatty, but at the same time, I don't want to come off as being rude. So you know, there's just levels, and there's all sorts of things that you should say and shouldn't say, and how you should react, and don't talk unless you were talked to, and don't ask questions unless they ask you to ask questions, and it's just at the same time, through all of that, it's a really kind of an exhilarating process. And the way that I think about it is that I'm gonna have to do this for my entire career. If I have a career, I'm gonna have to go to auditions, and I think that, you know, I'm not an expert because I'm here and not in Hollywood. But I think even the people who have made it actually they have to audition still, which is kind of, it makes me feel a little bit better to know that they actually still have to prove themselves a little bit. And they aren't just, called upon to do these roles. And that would be a really great thing to have one day, just to get called to be in a role and not to audition, because, as I said before, it's just an awkward experience. It's kind of like a first date, a blind first date. And you don't really know what the person is like. You don't really know what they're looking for. And so you just kind of go in being yourself. Except, I guess it'd be more like a speed blind date if you were there for like 5 minutes. Basically just give, not everything, because you don't want to just lay all your cards on the table, but you want to give some of yourself that shows that you are a fun person, that you are talented, that you are whatever, which I guess talented doesn't really work in the metaphor of a blind date unless, you were wanting to be talented. Oh yeah. You're laying yourself out there for this person to see, and so then it comes down to after the date, which comes to my next part. It is super, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like, there's just a lot of anxiety after an audition, because you leave and it's awkward when you leave, because they're like, okay, thanks, we'll let you know. And then you leave and it's over. Like, you just spend time driving and getting ready and preparing for this role, and then it's just over. There's no cuddling, there's no after kisses, it's just over. And then the next couple days of waiting are the most anxious, and every time you get an email you're like, oh, did I get the part? Oh my gosh, what is it? And going back to the metaphor of the blind date, you are kind of worried because you're like, well, are they gonna call me back? Should I call them? Should I email them? But in the case of the audition, never ever 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 call to see if you got the part, because it just doesn't work out. And they're like, we'll let you know. So it's just like, I'm really an impatient person, so this whole waiting thing just drives me bananas. And there are certain, like, the before audition parts that are always kind of weird. Like, you have those people, you have two types of people. You have the person who is either incredibly talented or is incredibly snobby, and they don't ever say anything to you. I mean, they don't even look at you. It's that serious, which I guess makes sense, because you're trying to get in the zone and you're trying to learn the lines and you're trying to be as professional as possible, so you don't really want to make a lot of conversation. On the other hand, you've got those people who never stop talking. Hi. Hi. What part are you going for? Yeah, I'm going for, oh yeah, I'm going for that part too. I think that this is like a really great script. I mean, I haven't read the whole thing, but I really think that this is going to be a great character for my reel, because really, I mean, she just seems really torn, and she just seems like she's got so much going on in her life, and this guy is just really gonna be her solid rock. And I think that there's gonna be some really, really great scenes in it. So, where are you from? I actually have family down. Oh, yeah, you have family down there. I think it's a really great place. I haven't been very often. So what do you do? I mean, do you do acting a lot? I mean, I've been acting since I was like 5 years old. I've been on stage, and I was actually in an Allstate commercial. I didn't really get national review, but it was just, it was kind of a big deal because I actually got paid for it, so it was really great. So, do you go to college here? No? No, I don't go to college. I'm really excited. I haven't gone to an audition in a long time. I just keep getting calls for stuff, and I'm just super excited about this. And I think it's gonna be great. So, oh, they're calling my name. Bye. God bless them. They are so nice, and they just want to have conversation, and they're probably just as nervous as you are, but you're just like, shh, no more talking. Shh, no more. All of it is nerve-wracking because you're trying to concentrate yourself, and it's not working very well. Last night I found myself, there was this, there was at Northlake College in Irving. So I was sitting and I was waiting, and there was a guy with his mom sitting beside me, and they were talking and he was rehearsing his lines, and so I was trying not to think about what he was doing because it wasn't important. Well, then over here in the corner there was a girl who was signing. I guess she was on Skype and she was signing and she was going super fast, and I caught her out of the corner of my eye, and I ended up watching her. Instead of thinking to myself, okay Jordan, you really need to concentrate, you're about to go in for the audition, don't worry about her, I found myself saying, man, I really wish I knew sign language, then I could really eavesdrop on her and it would be, you know, I wouldn't sit here staring at her like a freak. And it's just, everything is distracting. The click of the doors, the lights, the people walking by, the people beside you, and it's just like, everybody be quiet. It's really not that intense. It might just be a special circumstance for me because I'm a nervous person and I worry too much. For other people, they might love going to auditions because they know they're gonna knock it out of the park and they're gonna be great and they're gonna get the job and it's just no big deal. And maybe that's how I can make my audition process better, is by knowing I got this. I'm gonna knock it out of the park, they're gonna love me, and I'm gonna get the part. At the same time though, I really don't want to set myself up for disappointment because that's when it turns into making it personal, which is the next part about auditions. I make everything really, I used to, and I'm getting a little bit better about it. I make things personal. I remember, I guess, back when I was in college, the one year I went, you're required to audition for all the shows, and so whenever I would audition and I would A, suck at the audition, and then B, not get chosen for a good role, I always took it personally, like, well, what's wrong with me? Why, I'm a great actress. Why wouldn't you pick me for that part? I would be a perfect Juliet. I would be a perfect Blanche. You know, you just kind of make it all, it just becomes so personal and you start to hate things around you and the people around you, and then it becomes an unpleasant experience and you get burned out. Which is kind of what happened to me, because by the end of that year I was like, man, I don't ever want to do acting ever again. That's the other part of it, is that if you don't get the part, if I don't get this part for the audition that I just did, it's gonna be okay, because there's gonna be lots of other auditions, more important auditions, less important auditions, and it doesn't mean anything about me or my talent. They just didn't want to use me, which is fine, because there were other people that went into the audition and they were probably better than me, or they had a certain look that I didn't have, or I don't know. That's the other awkward thing, is that you don't really know what they're looking for because they give this really vague description and you're like, she's an indie chick. What does that mean? I mean, I don't really consider myself to be anything. So how am I indie? Am I hipster? I don't really know. There's so many aspects to it that just make it weird. Then I actually have another audition next week, the week after. And I'm gonna go through the same process again, except I think for this one I actually have to sing something a cappella, which is a little bit more nerve-wracking. So I like to sing and I like to sing by myself, but somebody else could hear me and they'd be like, oh, stop it. So I went running this morning and it was 44 degrees outside, and apparently my dog is having a fit over there. I went running this morning and I took the dog and it was 44 degrees outside, which in my head I was like, oh, that's not that cold. It's just the stupidest thing ever. So here I am in my running capris and a tank top, and I didn't have any gloves or a hat or, you know, the things that go over your ears. What are they called? Oh no. Earmuffs. I didn't have earmuffs, I didn't have a jacket, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be fine because I'm gonna be running and my heart rate's gonna be going up, so blood's pumping, it's gonna keep me warm. I think I made myself sick. I was so cold and I was under the covers and I was trying to get myself cold. I was trying to get myself warm. My arms just refused to get warm, and it was so funny because I was trying to think For some reason, Liam Neeson's voice from the Batman Begins movie came into my head, and he's like, rub your chest, your arms will take care of themselves. And I was like trying to rub my chest a little bit, and it wasn't helping. My arms were still cold, and when I woke up, I was so stiff and sore, and I was like, why did I do that? Sometimes I worry about myself and my line of thought. In other news, I got the final draft of my script done, which you guys already kind of know about that, but and then I put up a casting call for to shoot the preview, and I've gotten some really interesting candidates and some candidates that I'm actually really excited about. The problem that I'm running into though is finding a place for auditions, which Lord help me. People don't have an appreciation for the arts anymore. It's kind of like, okay, we're gonna let you pursue your dreams, but it's gonna cost you a lot of money. There was one place, I won't say the name, but there was one place that was going to charge me $430 to use the room or whatever it was for 4 hours. That's $107 an hour. That room better be made out of gold, and there better be chocolate fountains and singing angels everywhere. In other places, some have been a little bit more reasonable, but there are other places that are like, oh, it's gonna be $250. And I'm like, why? What? Why? I don't understand. My camera just decided to stop recording in the middle of my talking. Luckily, it got to the very end of my spiel, so I think the last thing that I said was that I was cheap. There wasn't anything important on there anyway. Oh, there was something important that I want to talk about really quickly. In the past, I've talked about doing other segments like me playing the piano and singing for you guys, and I know that I haven't done it because I'm really lame, and I'm actually a little bit nervous about doing that because I'm super critical of myself, and so when I hear myself singing, I'm like, ooh, is that my voice? Ugh. I don't ever do it. So, but I think that I'm just gonna go ahead and do it and hope for the best. So it'd be really great to hear what songs you would like me to do. Within reason though, I can't do rap songs, and I'm not very familiar with a lot of more stuff that's on the radio, but if you tell me what it is and give me a little bit of time to learn it, then I can definitely try for you. I think I'm gonna go get some tea, and I might pass out on my couch until my kids wake me up. So I'm gonna sleep away now. Bye.